What can the Democrats do to build back trust with the American people? This was something that my congresswoman brought up in our town hall yesterday about how trust is really broken between the American constituents and the Democrats. That's how Donald Trump won. And how Democrats' approval rating is just like absolutely in the toilet. It's even worse after Chuck Schumer's shenanigans and the fact that Democrats are really seen, as I have said since day one, feckless and impotent. Now, there are Democratic attorneys general all around the country who have been working very hard since before Trump even got inaugurated. They were ready to go with lawsuits, and they are absolutely doing what they can to defend democracy. There are progressive members of Congress who are being tenacious. They are listening to their constituents who are saying, more, we need more from you. You need to step up, and they are. One of the things that I said in my town hall recap video yesterday was that I've seen my congresswoman, I've been to every single town hall she's had since she got into office in January, and I have seen her get more outspoken, be more brave, take bigger risks on behalf of her constituents. And the reason she's doing that is because we are urging her to take bigger risks. And so she feels empowered, right? Her job as a representative is to represent the will of her district. And so when she hears us saying, we need more from you, we need you to be braver, we need you to be bolder, we need you to be more adaptive, more creative, we need you to take big risks for us because everything is on the line. She's like, okay, you gave me the assignment. I understand. I'm going to do it. And she really, really has. And we've seen that from loads of progressive folks, especially in the House. And I want to give credit where credit is due. Cory Booker heard the same thing from his constituents. In fact, Indivisible New Jersey met with him before his 25-hour filibuster and was like, we need you to step it up. We need you to be creative, to try something that nobody has done before. And we need you to, as I like to say, risk it for a biscuit. And he did. And again, like, more of that, please, from all of y'all, more of that. I don't really consider myself a Democrat because so much of the Democratic Party are neoliberals, right? And as a very staunch anti-capitalist, I realize that there's no party that in the American system that is really aligned with my values. Both parties are working for corporations. They are absolutely influenced by and prioritize corporations above people. I mean, my whole ethos is people over profit. So I really struggle with the fact that we don't really have like a labor party. We don't really have, we have the Working Families Party, but they like caucus with the Democrats. And I realize that my job in a two-party system is to vote for harm reduction. And so I end up voting Democratic most of the time, especially obviously on the national level. And I also recognize that there are members of the Democratic Party that I really like Katie Porter, that would probably be in a different party if we were not stuck in a two-party system. So I'm not making this video because I'm like, rah, Democrats, they're so great, let's make them popular again. But as I've said in other videos, I think that what the Democratic Party needs is it needs to be retrofitted. We need to completely renovate it. Everybody's saying we need a viable third party. I just don't see how that's possible to do the heavy lifting of creating that party and platforming, doing the fundraising and then platforming a presidential candidate from a new party that could possibly win. And I think we need to stop fixating on presidential races because there's no way we could create a viable third party and have that third party take over the House and the Senate in the midterms. We are not going to be able to come up with those candidates. And that's not an actionable plan. I don't see a way to get from point A to point B. So I think that the proper solution is to retrofit and to remake the Democratic Party. And speaking of, if my congresswoman is asking what can the Democratic Party do to start to rebuild trust with the American people and win back the House and Senate in the midterms, getting rid of people like Chuck Schumer, that would be a great start. Getting rid of those folks in the Democratic Party that the voters on both sides see as hypocritical. Because I think the thing is that people don't see a hypocrisy when there are super wealthy Republicans who have gobs and gobs of money, who take a bunch of money from corporate interest, because they are a party that's supposed to be about small government and pro-business, right? All about chasing your personal, financial prosperity. That's a party, despite saying they're about family values, that's a party that really leans into toxic individualism. But then you look at Democrats, and they're supposed to be the party of social justice, social change. The party that looks at vulnerable, needy people, people in poverty, people who have been denied access to things and says, we are your party. We're the ones who want to help you. We care about you. And then when those establishment Democrats turn around and take money from big corporations and then vote in ways that benefit big corporations over the people that are being fucked over by those corporations. And when those Democratic electeds themselves are incredibly wealthy, they are part of the 1% or the 5%. When they hobnob with celebrities, when they defend their choice to own single stocks and they do insider trading, that's blatant hypocrisy, because I thought you were spinning yourselves as the party for working class people, that you care about the little people, and you are not the party of the elites, but yet you are living like an elite and you are voting in ways that benefit the elites, and you're just like throwing us a bone here and there. I personally think that has been the demise of the Democratic Party. That is how they lost the working class. Well, that and the Civil Rights Act, because that caused, the Dixiecrats to flee. And I have said this before, working class America is really struggling. We are being fucked over by the billionaires. We are being exploited by them for our life hours. We are seeing our taxes not go to the things that make our quality of life better. We are seeing the super rich get richer, the economic disparities between us and them growing. They are living more luxurious lives, and we are working harder to fund their extravagance. And Trump played himself as a populist and said that he was going to, drain the swamp, and that the corporate elites, the elites were the Democratic Party was the party of the elites, and he was the party of the working man, which is never going to stop being wild to me that working class Americans thought a billionaire had their best interest at heart, especially when they saw millionaires in Congress taking money from corporate interests and were like, those guys are going to fuck me. They care about big business. They care about the super rich more than they care about me. But then they looked at Donald Trump and Elon Musk and thought those guys were going to care about the working class. But at the root of all of this is the working class is getting squeezed and oppressed by the oligarchs, by the billionaires. And I really think the compelling message for the Democrats is we are a party for the working class. And so they're going to have to purge some of their roles. They're going to have to boot out those folks in Congress who really represent the establishment, who really care about special interest, about PACs, about, PACs that are funded by foreign influence, PACs that are funded by corporations, PACs that are funded by the super rich, and prioritize ultimately the oppression of the working class. Those folks have got to go. That's what I think is the single biggest thing the Democratic Party can do to rebuild trust, is to understand the root cause of suffering for everybody in the working class. And they cannot in any way look like they are upholding the systems that are inflicting pain and suffering upon us. They have to understand the plight of the working class and prioritize it. And then they have to figure out how to sell that, how to communicate that really effectively. If you want to rebuild trust with the American electorate, with working class people, then you have to show that you are not in the pocket of the super rich. And not only that, but that you understand it is the super rich who are fucking us. And so therefore, you are going to stand in opposition to them. You're going to tax them more. You're going to craft and put forward policies that are for the people, not for the corporations. You're going to advocate for campaign finance reform. You're going to advocate for policies that benefit us, the people. And you're going to commit to not taking money from those special interests. I personally think that is how you rebuild trust. Now, maybe y'all have a different idea, and if so, I would love to hear it. And I think, obviously, your Democratic electeds would love to hear it. Because I know my congresswoman just kept saying over and over, we need to rebuild trust. What can we do to rebuild trust with the American people? Not looking like blatant hypocrites would be a great start. And then building a party that actually speaks to the needs and actually does real things to improve the quality of life, like having a plan ready to go with policies and a platform and a pathway to roll out those policies that make substantive differences in the lives of the American people. And make it very clear that the Democrats are the party for the people and Republicans are the party for the billionaires, for the elites, the oppressors. The messaging really needs to be that Democrats have a plan to make the American dream, which has felt so elusive for so many of us for a couple of decades now, feel accessible, that we are going to have access to the American dream and you are going to create a pathway for us to get there. And not only that, but create this clear distinction between the Democrats as the party for the working class and the Republicans as the party for the super rich. I mean, Republicans have set Democrats up for a slam dunk in that regard. Democrats need to figure out how to communicate that reality to the American people. I mean, Elon Musk is doing a wonderful job of starting off, really cementing the Republican Party as the party for the super rich. And then Republicans in Congress, by not blocking Trump from crashing the stock market, by passing legislation that gives huge tax cuts to the super rich and takes away programs that working class people need, that should be a slam dunk. They're just handing you all of the ammunition, Democrats. So that's my 2 cents. What do you think that the Democrats need to do in order to rebuild trust? or maybe establish it for the first time? And how can they have integrity and follow through?